I just bought the brand new Osmo Pocket 3 featuring this really satisfying little flip screen. Also, it has a brand new 1-inch sensor, which is pretty great. And the Osmo Pocket 3 is actually fairly spec'd out. You have things like 4K D-Log up to 60 frames per second, or even their brand new ActiveTrack 6.0. Not to mention, it is a gimbal that can literally fit in a pocket, which is pretty cool. And all that is great. I really think the Osmo Pocket 3 looks good on paper, but what I really need to know is it worth using over my iPhone 15 Pro? So the iPhone 15 Pro now with Apple Log is potentially the best pocket camera because it's always with you. And that's what the Osmo Pocket 3 really needs to compete with. So let's take a moment and look at the 4K footage side by side. And here's the thing, they both look really good for what they are. I think the 20mm f2 lens on the Osmo is a great option, especially when you're vlogging. Speaking of vlogging, I think the Osmo Pocket 3 has a distinct advantage over the iPhone because the camera can rotate all the way around, allowing you to actually see yourself while you're filming. Not so much with my iPhone 15, unless I'm willing to use the selfie camera, which is arguably just not, I mean, it isn't as good as the main cameras on the back. So I'd have to be okay with that quality loss in order to see myself while I film. The ultra wide angle lens on the iPhone 15 Pro, however, is definitely a viable option for filming yourself. It's just that you're definitely guessing when it comes to framing yourself in the image if you're going to be doing selfie style shots. Now, one thing actually about the iPhone that the Osmo just doesn't have too well, you actually can zoom in on the Osmo, but of course with the iPhone you actually have multiple different lenses, so you can shoot the wide, medium, or tight, and then you also can do the super wide as well. That is something about the iPhone 15 Pro that the Osmo Pocket may be lacking a bit if you're wanting a little bit more compression in your shots. So one thing about the Osmo Pocket 3 that the iPhone just simply can't do is that it has ActiveTrack 6.0. So I'm using the Osmo Mimo app, I believe is what it's called, and that is being paired with Bluetooth to my Osmo Pocket. So if I actually drag my finger over me, it'll select me and actually follow me around the frame. To a certain point, the gimbal can only move so far left and right, but it's actually doing a pretty wonderful job tracking me throughout this scene. Now, what's really cool is I can actually compose this shot. So let's say I want to be on this side of the screen. I can now, when I walk, I will always be on this side of the screen. And if I walk the other way, again, it'll keep me composed on the left side of the frame. So this is actually a pretty neat thing for solo content creation, if that's what you're doing. And one thing that I noticed is that it'll actually track you from pretty far away, which is great if you want to get a little more extreme with the shots. By the way, I really hope that you all have been enjoying the music in this video because it has all been through Audiio. Now, Audiio actually is the sponsor of today's video. They are a wonderful music licensing platform. If you haven't heard of them, I definitely recommend you check them out. Music really has become such an integral part to the pacing and flow of my videos that I was really happy to see that Audiio had a wide breadth of high quality music for me to choose from. And by the way, if you're picking up the Osmo Pocket 3 to make content for your Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, any of those things, you actually can't just use any music. You have to use copyright-free music. So if that's you, I would highly recommend trying out Audiio. But also if you're looking to freshen up your content with new music, again, try out Audiio. It really is great. There will be a link in the description for you to check it out. Thanks so much to Audiio for supporting content creators like me and making this video possible. So these days, vertical content is a really big deal when it comes to social media content creation. And you would think that the iPhone would have a distinct advantage here, but the Osmo Pocket actually has a really cool feature. So if you go ahead and rotate the screen back and hit continue, you are now recording in a vertical format, which is pretty cool. The only downside to doing it this way is that you do lose out on some resolution. So I believe it switches to 3K versus 4K. However, if you want, you can also just rotate the Osmo Pocket like this, and now you're getting that full 4K resolution. It's just a little awkward to hold. So both of these pocket cameras are capable of 4K up to 60 frames per second when recording in log, although with the iPhone you do need to record to external storage of some kind, which is a little bit of a downer, but overall they perform well enough. I don't really have complaints about either. However, when I was doing the 60 FPS test, I was running along with my dad on an electric bike, and I did find that I was much more confident holding this Pocket 3 gimbal. It just felt much more stable when I was running with it versus the iPhone, which I felt like I had to be a lot more careful with. Additionally, with the iPhone, if you want ultra smooth stable footage, which you can totally get, you have to go into the active steady mode, which is fine, but it does crop in on the image and it limits your resolution, so you cannot record in 4K. So that's definitely a win for the Osmo Pocket. So one of my biggest problems about filming with my iPhone 15 Pro is actually its low light performance. Not necessarily the quality of the footage at night, that's kind of fine. It's really those green flares that are coming off of external light sources from buildings or whatever. And that really ruins the footage for me. I think that those green flares look awful. I was really hoping they'd fix it with the iPhone 15 from all previous iPhones that have had it, but that's not the case. It's still a problem. And I'm really happy to note that the Osmo Pocket 3 just doesn't have that issue. The footage actually looks pretty good. Now you do have to switch it into the low light performance mode, which is fine, but you do lose out on D-Log-M. You have to record it in the normal picture profile. And that's really not the biggest deal in the world. The footage does look fine, and it's something that I think I would use if I was using it, but I do wish that I could still record in D-Log in the low light mode, but it is what it is. So I wanted to do a quick autofocus test between these two cameras to see if that really made a difference. And honestly, from what I can tell, it doesn't. They're both perfectly fine and adequate when it comes to autofocus. Maybe the Osmo is a little bit jerkier at times than the iPhone, but it's very minimal, if anything. So if you're worried about autofocus between the Osmo Pocket 3 and your iPhone, I'd say they're pretty comparable. So with all that being said, is the Osmo Pocket 3 a better pocket camera than my iPhone 15 Pro? And my honest answer is yes, I actually do find it to be a better option in a lot of situations. So I personally really enjoy having a camera be separated from my phone. I just like that separation. Also, the iPhone is still pretty annoying to film on when it comes to certain things. For example, if you want the ProRes log footage, which that's the best looking footage possible, you really need to record to an external hard drive. And that just adds a bit of bulk to the overall thing, and I just don't like it. The reason why you have to do that is just because those file sizes are so massive, those ProRes log files, whereas the files on the Osmo Pocket 3 are just much more manageable. And when it comes to filming with the iPhone, there's just a few annoyances that really hold it back, whether that's not being able to see yourself when you're recording with the main cameras or those nasty green flares. There's still some headaches with the iPhone 15 Pro versus the Osmo Pocket 3. There's really only one catch when it comes to filming with the Osmo Pocket 3, and that's the price tag. It's nearly $600 when you factor in taxes, and that's significantly more expensive than the previous versions. However, when you consider everything that this thing is capable of with the 1-inch sensor, 4K 60, stabilized, active track 6.0, D-Log-M, 10-bit, you can kind of start to see why they had to charge a bit more money for this version versus the previous one. But I'm curious to hear what you guys think. Do you think that the Osmo Pocket 3 or the iPhone 15 Pro would be better for your workflow in particular? Maybe you do something very specific and the iPhone just makes way more sense, or the Osmo Pocket 3 makes just way more sense. I'm really curious to hear your comments down below. But anyways, guys, this has been a really cool little camera. I hope that you all found this video useful, and I will see you all in the next one. Take it easy, guys.